Andy.
Morning.
Thank you so much for finally being able to meet us. I know it's been busy schedules between us both and holidays, so it's nice to finally get to see you.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard some wonderful things about you from our Jess. She has lots of lovely.
Good.
She has lots of positive things she wants to say about you. So today I'm just going to do a bit of a brief podcast with you here while you're in our chair to find out a little bit about yourself. I know that you've been a big part of the textile industry and you've worked in this for such a number of years. You've been part of a big textile growth project, which I know I'm really keen to hear about. I'm sure our listeners are as well. And just really to find about how you've found the textile industry and how that's changed over the time that you've been in it, because I would imagine there's been some really significant changes over the years. So I suppose what we'll do is we'll jump right in if you're ready.
I spent the majority of my career overseas, from the sort of early 80s until about 2007 we came back to the UK. I had a job working for a friend of mine when I first came back, and then through mutual arrangement and a long story, which I won't bore you with, I needed to look round for work, and I found Jess. She was not in her own business at that time, and and she found me a great position with a company that imports, designs and imports household textiles, and really good company, really good position. And I was with them for I think 4 or 5 years. From there, I basically was working for myself. I had a few contracts with different companies in UK retail, mostly in the sort of household textiles arena. A couple of technical textiles contracts, and then it was Jess again who asked me if I'd be interested in a position, but at the same time the Textile Growth Program came around, and it was in a way I made a bit of a schoolboy error, because it really took up 95% of my activity. When I first started with the Textile Growth Program, that I thought to myself, well, there really just can't be that much in industry left in the UK. So I didn't think it'd be, for want of a better word, a particularly good earner for me, and I thought it wouldn't take too much time. Well, what a surprise I had, because the breadth and ability of the UK textile industry was quite astounding to me. A lot of it was areas of textiles which I wasn't particularly familiar with, but I knew enough with my background and things that I'd done in the past to be able to go in there and talk with some authority. And it was interesting that a lot of the people, you're usually dealing with senior management in companies or company owners, that kind of thing. All small businesses, SMEs, and it was interesting going in. You'd sort of get the reaction of arms folded up to here, and well, why the hell should we listen to you? Because we've been through these grant programs before and we never get anything. Usually interspersed with a few derogatory comments and swear words about government grants, etc. And I think what had happened previously with grant programs was they had just sent somebody in who knew about the grant program, knew about bid writing, that kind of thing, but knew nothing about the industry. What was different about the Textile Growth Program was that they took folk like myself that were pretty seasoned, few grey hairs, well, total greyers. And
Specialist, to be honest, what you are really, isn't it? You are a specialist in your field, which gives you that kind of clout, really, I suppose.
Yeah, so there were two of us that were both of a similar age and with different textile backgrounds, and so our skill set basically covered the whole industry, really. And so if it was sort of dyeing and finishing, that kind of thing, it usually went to another guy. If it was more the primary end of textiles, the technical textiles, that kind of thing, especially spinning, weaving, then it would come to me. So and between us, I mean, the results of the Textile Growth Program were astounding, really. The numbers of jobs created, the number of the amount of money that was invested by the industry to go with the grants. What happened with the grant was really that if somebody was thinking of expanding and thinking of buying a machine, and there's a really good example in Rochdale, actually. They initially were just going to buy one. It's called a stenter. They were going to buy one stenter. You're talking a big investment. But because of the intervention of the Textile Growth Program, they ended up buying two stenters and another couple of bits of kit as well. So, you know, it doubled their investment because of the grant from the Textile Growth Program. And that was the case in many companies. It just gave them that edge, either to make the investment in the first place, or to actually grow far bigger than they would have done, which is exactly what the grant was supposed to do. It was really well managed. It was well managed in the fact that myself and the other consultant, we had to report into a board and in effect sell the bid. So you had really high profile people from the industry, who, I think there were 7 or 8 of them, from all aspects and facets of the industry. And they would judge the bid, and they would say, go back and get more information. We're not happy with the financials. We're not happy with the source of machinery. This is great. And sometimes we go back 2-3 times to the board and say, and you know, it'd be a case of, oh Christ, are you back with this one again? You know, and but it was kind of good fun. It was serious, but it was good fun. There was a lot of sort of jousting went on, and so the bids that went through were generally very, very good, very, very successful, and the companies have gone on to be successful. So it did what it said on the tin, you know.
I mean, the thing is, like you say, that's allowed those companies to grow. It's allowed them to bring on new people into the area, into community, and allow textiles to remain in the UK, which is really, really important, because we've seen so much of the textile industry being farmed out. And really, it's important if we can use those grants here in the UK to keep that British kind of heritage that we've always had. Textiles has been a big thing. My mum was a home ec textiles teacher, you know, and it was a big thing, textiles, especially around here. You know, we know for our mills and our textiles, we don't want to lose all that. So the fact that you've done that is fantastic. Do you think that by doing that, that has actually kept more of the textile market within sort of the UK by that grant, or would we have seen those businesses potentially have lost that market share? Would they have gone abroad without your help in securing that funding, possibly?
Quite a lot of the companies were sourcing either all of or part of their product from overseas. So the Far East, Southeast Asia, those kind of places. What the Textile Growth Program actually did was reshore a lot of that manufacturing. Again, back to they were manufacturing in Thailand. They closed their factory in Thailand and they brought everything back here. So I just use them as a good case in point, because they're a more traditional textile business.
They are.
We had a lot of we had a lot of screen printers and people like that, but we helped most of the traditional textiles in this country. We financed a new printing company in Stockport. We expanded dramatically a printing and imprint company in Stockport, and we covered the whole country. It was originally supposed to be just a regional program, but we then got dispensation from the government to cover all of England.
So wonderful to hear, and you know, it makes us proud to work in the industry that we do and help those people. And you know, I feel that sense of achievement when I appoint a weaver in a role and help, because it's keeping it British, we're keeping that here. It's just fantastic, really, really good. Because there has been so many changes. I mean, I'm sure, in the 12 months I've been here, I've seen little changes, and that from my mum when she talks about it, for 40 years there's been changes. I'm sure you've seen some massive changes, especially in the roles you've been in as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I say, my dad had a small spinning and weaving company, and I could just see the writing on the wall. In terms of what was happening in imports, and that's when I left, and myself and my family went overseas. And the company I worked for, it was South Africa where I went originally, and the company I worked for there was massive. They employed 30,000 people in sub-Saharan Africa, a huge company, and a really good company, a really first world company to work for, quite groundbreaking in many areas. So it was a great education for somebody who was young in the industry and newly qualified, basically. That company shrunk in the time I was there, not because of me, but because of circumstances. It shrunk from 30,000 people to 5,000 people. Now it doesn't exist in the form it was. It's divested of all its interests, and all of its properties are now units, housing, that kind of thing. Wow. So, that was a massive, massive giant of a company that's just basically disappeared as a textile company. And that's really through the influence of imports from the Far East and from Southeast Asia. Just low cost labor. And so, there are still some companies that weave here and do a great job. And indeed, the company I currently run, they use UK made fabric. It's then printed in the UK, and then we finish it in the UK. But that might change in the future, not because of labor costs, but now because of energy costs.
The thing is, there is that lack of skilled workforce. I know my grandma worked in the mills. It was what they were taught, but there doesn't seem that progression. There doesn't seem to be. And I suppose those skilled people who are able to do some of those jobs. So like you say, but there are a lot of people overseas who are willing and are skilled and trained, because that's their kind of growth path in life, and that's probably another reason I think that I've seen that we're not maybe expanding, because it's not necessarily that the machinery will do it, because you still need that person to operate that machinery to even be able to do it.
I think the skills and training one is a complex issue, in that for me there's two aspects to it. One is the dark satanic mills. I do feel as though there's a celebrity culture now, and everybody wants instant wealth and instant fame. So I think that has an influence, whether it's a known influence or not. I do think it's an influence. The second thing is that, and this is going to sound awfully harsh and critical, but a number of the companies that I've worked in and done work for have been so old-fashioned and so old in their thinking. There's been nothing invested in training. It's seen as a as an expense that's not needed. Why should I spend the money? And it generally runs at health and safety, IT support, etc., and training. It's just not investing. It's tragic, really.
It is, and that's encouraging though, Andy, to hear that programs are available, because it is something. And I do think there's many industries, construction, engineering, I'm seeing all the time, they're throwing grants at this, they're opening new buildings to allow people to come in and learn about engineering, or people to come in and learn about like the biochemistry stuff, and that's brilliant. But we've got a real tradition, and we've got a real British thing that we've done for all these years. It would be such a shame to completely lose it. And I think without those kind of apprenticeship things there, people, it needs to be shown that it's a nice opportunity for people and that it's a good industry to be in.
But one of the very, very well-established accounting firms, they came back and they said this business is worth 9 billion to the UK economy. They said, no, you can't be right with those figures. You need to get a second opinion. And they got another high-profile group of accountants. I can't remember who it was. Anyway, they said, no, we made a mistake. It's actually worth 14 billion. There were certain sectors. So that's a pretty substantial industry. And you're absolutely right. They throw money at other aspects. So yeah, it has a lot of things working against it. But again, I think that's why Bowmay has been so successful, is because Jess has recognized that there is a gap there, but you need to know not only what the gap is, but you need to actually understand what the industry is, and something about the industry is, what a weaver is, what a winder does, what a spinner does, what cotton is, etc. And what because as you say, I know I'm going from side to side here, but why I used Jess when I was recruiting is because she would do all the hard work for me. She'd do all the interviewing first. So the people that came to me generally were pretty good, because all of that pre-screening had been done.
Recruitment, that's what we say. We leave you guys to do your bit because you're very good at it, and we'll take the recruitment pressure off and do that bit. Exactly. It is, but you are right. Jess is a specialist of what she does, and I know when I came on board, like I say, I've come from a biochemical background, so, and I've worked at a textile company, doing fabric testing. So I had a bit of knowledge around sort of fabric testing, but more like tensile testing and more like sort of strength testing for like Marks and Spencer and things. So I had a bit of knowledge of that, like I say, with my mum as well. But Jess fully trained us, which was amazing. So we got to see, this is a loom, and no question is stupid. Like, what was the difference between a Dornier loom? What was the difference between this? And we just kept saying, what's a beamer? What do they do? And it was good because then when you're speaking to people, and we're speaking to these companies to help with their recruitment, we fully know, we fully bought into it, and we're able to offer those solutions and weed out the right people. It's still encouraging that people still want to do this. And I just really hope, and I think like with the likes of people like yourself who've invested so much time and money and your whole sort of soul into this job, and people like Jess who are the specialist recruiters, still help to keep driving this industry, because it would be such a shame to lose what is our great British heritage, really.
It's and there's jobs for everybody within the textile industry. There's jobs for everyone, really.
Well, put it this way, we'll keep recruiting for this industry. I'm sure it's Jess's passion. We love it. Obviously, you're there, you're still in the industry, which is wonderful to hear, but thank you for everything you've done to a part of that Textile Growth Project, because that's kept the businesses going that we, love to recruit for. So a big thank you for us, really. So although we've helped you, you've helped us. So it's definitely, I can see when Jess says there's a mutual relationship, there definitely is.
Absolutely, definitely, for sure.
Oh, that's brilliant. Andy, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. I know Jess was really, really keen to get you in our Hannah's hot seat. So thank you so much for that. But yes, you take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much.
Thank you. And nice meeting you, Hannah.
Thanks, Cheers. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.